Hello and welcome to Good Games Well Played, episode 197. I'm Clint, aka JCM. With us this week is Messiah,
Hello.
and it's Isley's birthday out of nowhere, so he will not be joining us. He's off doing a breakfast thing with his IRL friends.
Birthday boy.
That's like motherfucker with his friends he's hanging out with, not playing video games with me. Ah, damn it. Oh, hopefully he has a good one. But yeah, we have a lot of like small bits to go over this. Little bits to go over this week. We got like BlizzCon's apparently coming back in
Mhm.
2026. I'm like, all right. I wonder if like how much of that is influenced by Microsoft. Doubt they skip 2025. Uh, I'm curious how much it'll change, what it'll be like. I'm also really interested in, and I haven't been paying too much attention to it, but like the esports scene with Blizzard in general, because it's really kind of toned down, especially the StarCraft side, a lot over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm I'm wondering how much esports will be a focus at BlizzCon, because BlizzCon used to be like it was the BlizzCon finals. Like that's where you had them. Like they had this whole WCS circuit throughout the year that would culminate in the finals at BlizzCon. And that was like I never went to BlizzCon, but that was like the one thing that kind of made me want to go to BlizzCon when I was heavily into StarCraft 2 esports. I was like, man, I would love to go down there and just watch the finals down in Anaheim, but I never
Yeah. Go to
did.
just go to BlizzCon just for the big esports spectacle, pretty much.
Yeah. I think, like, one year, it was close to when maybe it was, like, close to when the family were gonna go down with the first kid when he was little, and, like, we were going, like, maybe 2 weeks later. I was like, "Oh, man, if we were going, like, slightly before or, like, after, I could, like, go down first and then just go to BlizzCon and then meet the family for Disneyland or something," but, oh, well. I'll be interested to see how it does, but that's next year. And then so well, actually, I'll save that for later. That's a different one. Monster Hunter Wilds obviously has been doing really well, and the producer for the series saying that the popularity is thanks to the story emphasis, immersion, and crossplay. Now, I will say I'm not sure how much the story emphasis, the immersion for sure, but I feel like crossplay's got to be a big factor
Yeah, I
in.
think crossplay is the major factor. We'll get into it later, but I don't think the story is the big emphasis. It had a good story and it had very, very good story moments, but I think the crossplay is the thing that makes it so popular.
Yeah, that's gotta be like I wish I could see sales figures for games that either implemented cross-play later or implemented it into the next title in a series and see like, okay, was there a significant jump in players and people who purchased the game? Because like crossplay, like I mean, remember years back when like Sony was so anti-crossplay and then Rocket League was like, "Oh yeah, we turned it on. Oops." And they had to take it off, but, like, it was a big push to get crossplay going, and it's like, it clearly is the main thing, like, there's so many games now, like, even Split Fiction, which I think is crazy, like, it has crossplay with the friend code, not even, like, crossplay only if you have the full game. It's like, no, you can
Mhm.
just friend code it across platforms. I thought that was so cool. But yeah, it's gotta be crossplay for sure, which kinda crazy. I'm like, I guess they never had it on the other ones, which I and with it being such a co-op focused kinda game to me in my head, like, obviously you can play it solo, but I feel like it's very much a co-op game. Kinda crazy that it took them this title to get crossplay in there.
It is a very heavily multiplayer focused type of game. It always has been. But I think Monster Hunter Worlds was probably the first one that could have had crossplay. And I don't know if it necessarily did because I'm not 100% sure if it came out on PC. I'm pretty sure it did. But even before that, the one that came out before that, Monster Hunter Rise, I think that was only on Switch. It may have been also on PC. But I don't, crossplay's never really been a major drawing factor for that, despite the fact that it's a massively multiplayer focused game.
Yeah. Yeah. Kinda crazy. But hey, I mean, clearly it's gotta be a big boost for them, and they're gonna make sure that they have it going forward. Like, you don't wanna man, that's another thing too. I wonder if there's any games that have had that feature and then drop that feature in a subsequent title, which would be nuts. But yeah, good for them. It's always nice when a franchise that I feel like has really grown in popularity over the past, 5 years, I suppose, with
Hmm.
Worlds especially, that, hey, keeps going strong. Kinda secure that IP and have it keep going. Maybe don't do too much of it, that way you don't kinda burn out that formula, but just keep it strong.
I think I
Uh,
mentioned last time too, it feels like a very beginner friendly entry to the series. So people I've seen a lot of people who are like, "Oh, this is my first Monster Hunter and I'm having a lot of fun with it." The advice is usually, "Hey, stick with Wilds and don't go back to the older games because you might not enjoy them so much." So it is very like entry friendly while still appealing to veteran players as well.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Very much like how Elden Ring has a lot of user-friendly mechanics that you don't have to use if you're a veteran, but, like, they help out people a lot who are new to the franchise and
Yeah.
whatnot, so it's good to see. And speaking of sales successes, Split Fiction sold 1,000,000 copies in 48 hours.
Wow.
It's Hazelight's fastest-selling game to date, which is good because it's a really fun game, so glad to see that. And then the PlayStation Plus game catalogs for March has been confirmed, and one of the big ones is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown will be coming to the extra and premium tier. So if you're on extra or premium, definitely pick up Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown because that is a great game.
That's the new side scroller one?
That's the new one, yeah.
Oh, okay. I might
It's
pick
a
that up.
really good game. But again, that's only for extra or premium.
Mhm.
Because I think this month's plus is Dragon Age Veilguard, which I need to add to my library so I can give that a try at some point. And then I saw a funny article about it was like a interview with Seth Rogen. I forget what if he's on the red carpet or something or whatnot, but he was saying like for Superbad, Sony, the producers at Sony didn't like Jonah Hill's character so much that they didn't want him to touch a PlayStation controller during the video game scene, which I thought was hilarious. I'm like, I've never seen someone play something in media where I'm like, yo, they're playing that. Like, I'm really curious about who's influenced by some kid in a movie playing a console. Like, oh, I got to play that console. Like, to me,
Mhm.
it's like, in when Frank Underwood in, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of that show on Netflix, but he played like the Vita and he was playing that one game. Oh, now I'm blanking on the name of the game. Like, I remember the character's name in the Vita, but he was playing a game on there. And I was like, that kind of stuff, like, oh, it's a Vita. It's not just like a Game Boy or something like, but I wasn't like, oh, I gotta bust out my Vita and start playing again. It was just like, okay. But yeah, it was such a silly thing because I feel like that's definitely back in because, God, that's so long ago. Like, that's got to be, hey, this, when there was so much more uh, focus on like brand imaging, I guess, way back then. Because,
Mhm.
yeah, because when was Superbad? That's got to be like 2000, early 2000s, 2005, 6. Superbad. Superbad came out in 2007. Yeah, so it's like that kind of makes sense. Like, I guess the PlayStation's off to a bad start, so I guess they just don't want any more negative association with the platform, I suppose. And it's like, we got that expensive console. We don't want a douche character playing our console. But anyways, it
It's so
was just a
funny,
silly
like,
thing.
if like, it matters to any
Uh-huh.
degree, but it's just like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's very, like, very corporate level, like, I don't know if people are going to like our console if this douchebag person in this movie or, holds it. What?
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. And then yeah, moving on. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 3 got officially announced. Development has officially begun. They had the goofiest teaser trailer where it was just like this still image of Titus, and then there's like rain, like, but there's no like audio to hint what's going on. It's just like rain. But yeah, I'm excited because I had a lot of fun with Space Marine 2. I'm like, all right, hopefully another fun, really good game in that universe could come out in hopefully a couple years or quick turnaround time would be nice. I'm looking forward to that. And then the last thing I saw was that People Can Fly, the Gears of War E-Day co-developer, apparently has like 1,000 codename projects I was unaware of. Because the news this week is that they signed a deal with Sony to develop a new game codenamed Project Delta. Uh, it'd be made as a work-for-hire game, and they didn't provide any details, but they listed it. But they have other projects, like they have Project Gemini with Square Enix, they have Project Echo with Krafton, Project Red, supposedly with Sony as well. The VR Project Bison, which is gonna come out at some point, and then it's just like all these little projects. I'm like, this studio is just like helping out on so many different things with the other studios. Like they're obviously not making their own stuff. But I'm like, this is kind of you guys got a lot of irons in the fire. You gonna be able to deliver?
Kind of, yeah, kind of concerning, like, are you spread too thin? Are people working on multiple things? Is it going to be okay? Like, very weird.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on what stage, like, they come in to co-develop, like, if obviously, like, Gears of War, like, are they only doing a small portion? Like, "Hey, you guys do the multiplayer maps or something, or you do this section," and so it's, like,
Mhm.
easier, and then they can kinda piecemeal out, like, "Okay, with the Sony thing, we'll do this or do that," and it's like, "Okay, but are they co-developing those with a bunch of other people who at least they can just kind of assist with, and that's how they're kind of split up. Like, okay, you team of 10, you go assist on this one, you go assist on this one. So I'd be really curious how that business model works with them. But I thought it was kind of crazy because I had no idea they had so much going on.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for the news. Like I said, a lot of small stuff, nothing crazy. The final bit of news actually is the Death Stranding 2 trailer that came out after we recorded last week from the South by Southwest event. So Kojima was there and he's like, "Hey, I'll show my new trailer." I was like, "All right." But yeah, it was like a 10-minute pre-roll trailer. The game goes out in June 26th, which is right around the corner. Pretty crazy. And then, like, I guess if you get the collector's editions, one of them, whatever, you get like a 2-day early access or something like that. It's also one of those collector's editions where if you get like the biggest tier, it doesn't come with a physical game; it's just a digital code.
Mhm.
Uh,
Hate
someone's like,
that.
"Oh," I was watching uh, Andy Cortez, and he's like, "Oh, 15 inches of Magellan Man," because they have that statue. But yeah, that trailer that was a it's great because it started off like not at all like, introducing like new characters to the story with Neil. But yeah, it's I've watched that trailer like so many times. Oh, shame he's at least not here to talk about it because I'd be curious to hear his thoughts since he beat Death Stranding pretty recently as well. But the whole snake reference, which all the images came out online immediately once that happened.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I'm really curious because it seems like obviously the Neil character will be the new Cliff character, and I'm curious how that'll be because it's like okay, Cliff stuck around because he had probably guilt with his wife and their child being part of the BB project, and then he gets killed trying to escape. So he's got that. He's like he's tethered down. That's why he can't move on, and he keeps showing up, and you have to keep fighting him because he won't move on. He's stuck on the beach. Uh, but I'm curious. I guess Neil's character. It seems like Neil was also smuggling over still mothers from Mexico for the BB project for bridges, and I guess that's his guilt for doing that is why he's probably stuck on the beach as well because he's him with all the skeleton soldiers and what have you. But yeah, I'm curious how much backstory because we got in the original Death Stranding, we got some flashbacks with Cliff and a lot of cutscenes and stuff. Usually, anytime you go down to your bunker and you go up the elevator, transitions to Cliff talking to BB, and then eventually later on, you get more of the story bits when he tries to escape, and then ultimately what happened to him. I'm curious how much of that we'll get with Neil, and then also what will his resolution be? Because like you get some of that with Cliff, both with Sam and Die Hardman on the beach. I'm wondering if maybe the doctor, not doctor with not the other character called Doctor, but
Not the character
Lucy.
called Doctor.
Yeah, Lucy, I believe is her name in the game, who's like appears to be in a relationship. Who's actually the actor's wife as well, which is funny. Uh, like, is she still alive? Or are you going to run into her? And then, like, I'm curious what'll go on there. But it was so funny, like watching. I was watching someone, and they were like, "Brain dead pregnant women," and they were like freaking out at that phrase. I'm like, okay, clearly you don't remember Death Stranding 1 because like still mothers were part of the lore. Like that's how the bridge babies came to be. Like it only
Mhm.
and it's like so like that was a thing, but it's like I like kind of the downside to having a good memory and remember these things is like, okay, I won't totally hold it against you, but it is kind of annoying when you're freaking out about something that existed in 2019. But and then people also forgetting like the last trailer, I guess, where it's like, oh, look at this thing, the ship that looks like Rex. I'm like, yeah, we saw the ship in the other trailer. Like when they like they're on the ship when Fragile's talking to Sam and we know it's in Mexico. Like they talk about it being in Mexico because someone else is like, "Oh, I'm curious what other areas, these new areas in the US we're going to see in yada yada." I'm like, "No, we're not we're going to leave the US and go to Mexico." That was
The internet memory is like 45 seconds long. I don't know if
yeah,
you're
but it's like games
like,
journalists as well, which drives me crazy. I'm like, come on, man. I'm like, okay, I don't expect you to, remember everything about Death Stranding because it's like, yeah, there's a lot of details and lore because it's all new. It's not just like, hey, here's a new fantasy story that has orcs, elves, and giants or whatever. It's like, no, it's all new concepts, yada yada. So,
Mhm.
but it's just like you gotta have at least like someone who's a expert on Death Stranding in the call or something. I don't know, but
Or just do like some kind of, that this thing is coming out, a sequel to a thing that you played probably not completed. You played it for like a review or something. I don't know. You watch someone else do it. Just like read the Wikipedia beforehand. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I don't remember what happened in this game. I don't know. Like, watch a highlights video or something.
Or in
Especially if
it
it's like your job to know the thing.
yeah, and, like, it may be, like, even usually, like, when a new trailer comes out, sometimes I'll go back and see, like, the old one if it's been a while, and I'll check it and see, like, okay, what's new, or do they have the same scenes? Because a lot of times, like, oh, like, the scene in the trailer when they show Fragile crashing the bike, like, that was in one of the mini trailers that they did before the last big one. It's like, oh, I remember, like, it was strictly about that scene. Like, "Oh, I remember this." It's like,
Mhm.
that was there, yada, yada, but, yeah, it's just I don't know, short memory. But great trailer, great looking environments. Like that scene when Sam it was so funny because like they say like a mix of cinematics and in game, and someone on another podcast was like it was hard to tell which ones are in game and which ones are. I'm like, is it? Because like, did you not play Death Stranding? Like, it's pretty clear when like this is a cinematic and this is gameplay. Like, it's not that hard to tell, but like whatever. Uh, but yeah, it seems like they have a lot of like new transportation tech. It seems like the zip lines are gonna be up early maybe, because Sam was, like, riding them. There's that train. I'm wondering, like, instead of a highway, are we building a tram system or something? Which because there are still the highways, like, he was on one, that motorcycle robo motorcycle that, like, does the backflip. But yeah, I'm curious, like, what other transportations ideas they might have to help ease up, perhaps, go that Monster Hunter Wilds or the Elden Ring route of, like, how can we make the traversal a little easier for players who struggled with it, even though I was like, I really like that in the first one. Like, maybe we get the little floaty cargo things earlier because he had, like, 2
Mhm.
pretty early on, so maybe those come early. Maybe we start with the exosuit early. Like, yeah, how are they going to sort of assist new players or people who dropped off from the last one because they weren't good enough? So, I'm, uh, I'm curious how they're gonna do that, but yeah, it all I don't know, my mouse died for some reason. It just looks so good. The weather effects. The one scene I wish was lit a bit differently is that one where, like, you see, like, it looks like a little aurora borealis, like, in the background, but it's also just, like, super foggy, so it seems like it's a little too, like, desaturated in that scene. I was like, "Ah, I wish I could see this, like, without this heavy fog," but, like, the fire looked really good. The sandstorm mechanic will be interesting. As long as it's not, like, timefall sand, I'll be happy. Because 'Cause that'd be like, "Oh, great,
Definitely
now all
pain you
my"
can't not see, but you're also dying at every second.
yeah, and all your packages are withering away.
Mhm.
It's like, "No." But yeah, it looks really good. I can't wait to walk around those environments and just take it all in. Like, it made me really wanna re-download Director's Cut and just walk around that game, uh, see how many upvotes I get when I log back in and be like, "Hey, all your stuff got upvoted." I'm like, "Oh, great." Because I was thinking, it's like, "Ooh, I could" if I did get, like, the collector's edition, or, like, one of them, the tiers that gives you that early 2-day access, I'm like, I wonder how it's like, which experience would be more fun? Because I wouldn't necessarily be able to unless I took, like, time off work, because let's see, when is it? It's the 26th, just gotta be a Friday, right? No doubt. Oh, come on, calendar, open up. Yeah, because 26 no, 26 is Thursday, so 24th is a Tuesday. So I took that time yeah, because I wondering, like, would it be more enjoyable to play it early and put up assistance objects all over for other players, to then when it launches, my items should spawn in their worlds to, like, help them out, or just go in at the same time and then see other people's, stuff. Because obviously if there's gonna be a lot of people who are probably gonna pre-order as well,
Mhm.
streamers and whatnot. Yeah, I was thinking, it's like, "Ooh, that could be a lot of fun." Like, start a little early and put a bunch of stuff down, and then, like, see how much, like, the ratings change once it goes live, and be like, "Oh, look, I'm getting all my stuff's getting upvoted because I all the new players coming in to give it a shot."
Yeah, to see, like, how soon stuff from other players starts appearing.
Yeah, and, like, will I see, like, depending on like, will I see reviewers stuff from people who reviewed the game early, or is that gonna be, like, it's on its own separate server shards strictly for them or something?
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm excited. It's nice to have, like, all these dates filled out. It's just a shame that March is so packed 'cause I'm like, "Okay, Assassin's Creed is next week, and then
Oh my
Adamfall
god,
is
it is next week.
the week after," and I'm just like or 2 weeks after rather. I'm like, "Oh, man, it's too much." Actually, it is just the week after. But yeah, there's a lot, and there's, like, other games that keep going on sale, and I'm like, I could pick up this game." But like, "No, I still got games I need to finish. I gotta finish Split Fiction. gotta do all this other stuff, but yeah, I'm really and it's funny, like, at the end there when it shows, like, all the like, the Colossus, monster, like, putting itself together with the hand and the head enemies, which I thought was really cool. People are like, "Oh, it's, Power Rangers," but in my head, I was just thinking, like, Evangelion because it was reminding me of the white Evas at the end of the movie, the end of Evangelion when they have the wings and everything, and they take Unit 2.
There's
I'm like,
two
"Oh."
type of mech enthusiasts.
Yeah. I'm like, "Alright, they got the Power Ranger
There's
kids and"
Voltron and then there's Evangelion.
yeah, but it's funny, I didn't hear anybody mention Ava, but I'm like, "That's fine, I get you're" the Avas weren't piecing themselves together, but it did just remind me of Evangelion. Also, I'm like, "Man, Hartman being the pilot of the ship," I'm like, "The dude dies, like, every 20 something minutes, like, is that good?" Like, unless he's fixed himself, he's like, "Okay, I don't do that anymore." Like, I'm good. I
He
fixed
just
my
has, like,
heart.
an autopilot. Watch, it's gonna be
Yeah.
like an autopilot that comes on, it's, like, attached to his little thing.
Yeah,
It detects when
that's
he
right, so
dies, and it just goes into autopilot.
we're just gonna see this giant, like, mech fusion thing just all can go limp because it just he passed out. It's like, "Uh-oh, someone's gotta take over." Or it'll be like a time limit for the fight, like, you have to beat the fight before he dies. It's like, "Alright, here we go."
It just kinda stops, it looks at its little mech watch, it's like, now he's back."
Yeah. Now we good. Okay, let's get back in the fight.
Mhm.
But it'll be fun. I can't wait to play it. The game looks so good. It's kinda crazy, and I'm like, "Man, Decima, like, looking as good as it does for environments," like, obviously, like, Unreal's been working on their nanite stuff, and there's some really impressive environmental tech demos from Unreal, but I'm not seeing too many of them, and I've seen some really good Unreal Engine 5 games. I'm like, "Man, Sony, I feel like you could Decima could be like, yo, license that out or something." I don't know, man. It's like a
Mhm.
and look, it's looking great. Like, I'm curious what the limitations are and how much did Koji Pro make changes? Because it says, with Decima with the support from Gorilla. So it's obviously like they made some tweaks to the engine, no doubt. I'm like curious like what they did versus because like uh Horizon Burning Shores like looks really good. And I'm curious, like, okay, how different are the two versions of the engine? Like obviously their base is still the same because you can see that with like Unreal all the time. It's like, okay, use Unreal, but like you can just adjust the code how you need to, yada yada. But yeah, it's like, man, great engine. Just the eyes too, man. That Neil character, his eyes, like the eyes look so good. I'm like, so someone was watching, like, this guy's got beautiful eyes. I'm like, yeah, I know, right? It's like, it's crazy how good they look in this video game. It's nuts. Uh,
It's just I can't take it seriously because it just reminds me of that Yakuza meme where it's like, "Beautiful eyes."
I'm
It's
not
just
familiar with that meme.
I see that all over with people that I follow. I'm like, "Oh, no. No, I can't take it seriously."
Uh-oh. Oh, man, real quick before we move on to what we've been playing, I hate this trend that IGN does where it's like anytime a new game in a series comes out, they always release an article called "What order should you play, this franchise in?" Because the Assassin's
Mhm,
Creed Shadows coming out, it's like, "What order should you play Assassin's Creed?" It's like I feel like with video games, it's like release, always in order of release, like
mhm.
if you're gonna play a franchise. But it's like they do that every time, and it's like, man, like, come on.
It's just a way to clicks, what it is. 'Cause
Yeah,
the
I
was
know.
always the same. It's like, "Oh, if you want to play it the way it was intended, play it in release order. If you want to play it in chronological order, here's the timeline of events." And that's it, that's the article.
Mhm. And the next Assassin's Creed will be like copy paste article 2025 plus shadows at the end. You know?
Yeah, it's just like it's like a template.
Yeah. It's so annoying to see it. That they do that
And
with
you
like
can find that
movies and stuff.
information on Reddit already. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's where they pull the information from.
Yep. But I don't know. I'm curious when reviews for shadows are gonna go live. I'm looking forward to it, but gotta wait till next week. All right. Well, we can go ahead and move on to what we've been playing. Go ahead and start with you, side. What if I haven't seen you too much on Discord.
I haven't been on the computer. I'm playing
Oh,
Monster Hunter still, constantly, every day, every opportunity I can get.
gotta
I
gotta
I
link it
did
to your
finish the
Discord.
story. Huh?
You gotta keep your Discord on, so at least I can see that type, like, "Okay, that's where Zyler is."
I did finish the story. I thought it was really good. It is the Monster Hunter story. There
Mhm,
is something that is affecting the ecosystem. We have to go kill it. That's basically like the whole thing of Monster Hunter, which I think is really interesting because despite the fact that it's the core gameplay is like kill this specific monster 800 times. Cool, now you can make its armor set and its weapon. Time to move on to the next one. That's like the core gameplay, which is fun. It's very fun, and the monster fights are always very fun. But the ideology, the idea behind cut that out. The idea behind Monster Hunter is that the only people who are allowed to hunt monsters are members of the guild, and the guild's whole purpose is to keep the ecosystems balanced. So they only authorize hunts when something is like overpopulating, or if there's something that's like too aggressive and it's preying too much, stuff like that. So it's like there's always this thing of like you have a hunter and then your hunter has a handler. You always have a handler, and the handler has to authorize your hunt. And that's basically like, the basis of the game and everything like that. So the story always boils down to exactly that. Something's throwing everything out of balance. The guild has authorized you to go and deal with it. And like your handler is basically the person who's like evaluating it and like finding out information and stuff like that. The thing that's really cool about this game is that, and I think is a really interesting take on the story, which I really liked, is your hunter is like already an established hunter within the guild. Normally when you start Monster Hunter games, you're like a new recruit, or you're applying to be in the guild and stuff like that. So you have to go out and hunt little monsters and like prove yourself basically, and then you get kind of caught up in this whole big like world ending thing. But in this game, you're already an established hunter, you already have like a reputation, you're already a badass basically, and you're already very like familiar with your handler and very familiar with everything, so you can kind of just go in and your hunter just like knows things and they can identify monsters, and it's just a very like interesting take on it, and it kind of does away with that whole like yeah, I know what this thing is, I've seen this thing before, yes, I know what an Odogaron is, can I please just go hunt it, like that kind of thing. So I think that was super interesting. The thing that I've been seeing online, and a lot of people that who are like veteran players of it, they're just like completely blowing through the story and sometimes like skipping cutscenes the first way through everything because they're like, I don't want to play all of this tutorial shit, I want to get to the game. The story is the game. Like I don't understand what is so like, it's not the same as the other games. Your very first mission is fighting a big monster, like a large monster that you farm later on in the game. It's not like you have to go through this whole slow burn bit first. And there are points in the story where it kind of locks you out from going out into the environment or like doing optional quests and stuff like that. But it's not very long. It's pretty much like when you get to an area, it kind of locks you into the story a little bit. So it kind of familiarizes you with the base camp and like what's going on and stuff like that. But there are a lot of moments where you can just leave. You can just go out into the world and do what you want and hunt things that you haven't like encountered in the story or anything like that. And yes, I know because I did that. I did that almost in every area. I would go just out and explore, and I would do optional quests, and I would do like multiplayer quests. I basically made like every weapon and armor set that I could up until a story point before I continued the story. And there were moments where it's like I was out in the world, encountered something and fought it, and I couldn't like go into multiplayer and do optional quests for it because I hadn't encountered it in the story yet and hadn't unlocked the quest. So if I wanted to do it, I could just go out and fight it. I did that a lot. So it's like I don't understand the hate of like, oh, it's kind of bullshit that they made you go through this like 20-hour story in order to actually get to like the fun multiplayer part. You could do the multiplayer the whole time. I did it.
Yeah.
I know. You can even play the entire game multiplayer with like a full party of friends if you wanted to, and never have to like interact with anybody else ever. So it's just like and it's pretty much a sentiment that I only see from veteran players, that it's like that was kind of the thing that you would do in older games. It's just like, yeah, the story is not great, whatever, just let me get to the multiplayer part. And people are doing that with this game, but there's multiplayer through the whole game. And it's really like you could even play it with like a group of random people if you wanted to. If you wanted to like go on a quest or just like post a link code online or something that's like, hey, I'm doing this part of the story. Anybody wants to join me and do like the quests and the cutscenes and everything like that? You could absolutely do that. And I've seen some streamers who are saying like this is their first Monster Hunter. They do that. They make a link code or they make a lobby or like you can make a thing that's called a squad, which is basically like your own little guild type of thing where people can use the code, join your squad, and they can join a lobby that's like specific to that squad. So not only can you just play with random people all the time, but like you can make a squad if you have more than 3 friends who play the game, and you can all just like be in the same lobby together, and you can do squad quests and like do things. You're just like in the lobby. If you don't want to do a specific quest, you can just like meet up together and like go out into the world and farm things or hunt things or like whatever you want to do, explore and stuff like that. But it's just like you can take your time doing the story and you don't really you don't really lose anything. You can explore the areas as much as you want to or as little as you want to. This is like why are you complaining? Like you just want to get to the high rank, that's fine. Then just skip through the story and like it doesn't take that long. It takes maybe 4 or 5 hours if you skip all the cutscenes and like don't do any of the optional stuff or like make the armor and things like that. But if like you want to take your time with it and treat it like a single player experience, but you still have the multiplayer component. So it's just like I don't understand what you're complaining about. The game's fun. I think they did a lot of things that help it be more like catering to everybody rather than just like the hardcore Monster Hunter players. It's very easy to do multiplayer. It's like very easy to find other people to play with. You don't have to have voice chat on. It's just so accessible. So I don't know. I know it's like a different experience and people don't like change, I guess is the thing. But it's just, I mean, to me, being like the first Monster Hunter that I've really sat down and played in like a really long time, it's really good. The
Yeah.
stories, like I said, it's fine and it's like interesting. And people are like, oh, I don't care about these characters. That's fine. It's whatever. Like, they're still decent characters. Like, they're somewhat interesting. It's not like they're completely robotic and have like no personality whatsoever or anything like that. But I don't know. I don't know. I think it's really good. I thought the story was fine. The cutscenes are gorgeous and amazing, and it's really just the lighting in them is so good. And then you get to like the actual gameplay part, and you're like, oh man, it's too well lit. I want more shadows and like and stuff like that. I want more like hard lighting or like more direct lighting sources, stuff like that, like in the cutscenes. But I understand why, because it's already difficult to like read what's going on sometimes anyway. But still, the like the fights with the like flagship monster and the final boss and everything, they were so good. They had actual like mechanics that you have to do, and like it's not just go in and hit the monster as many times as you can and don't get hit as many times as you can kind of thing. There's actual like aggression to the fight. There's phases, and it was so good. And now that I'm in like end game high rank stuff, there's still quests that you can go do, and there's like an end game kind of story thing that you can go do. I've done only as much of that as I need to get them to stop telling me to go do that thing. Because I'm just like,
Yep,
every time
I
you come
know.
back from a hunt, your handler's like, "Hey, this person go wants us to go look at something, blah blah blah," and you have to wait for her to stop talking to like, "Okay, yeah, just I want to go do another hunt." So it's like I just go do the quest, and then she stops talking to me after every hunt. I'm like, "Okay, now I'm at a point where I can just go do whatever I want." So it's like you can do the side quests, you can do that story if you want to, or you can just go do what you want, and you can spend as much or as little time in an area as you want to. I've basically made all of the layered or like glamour armor that I want to make with the monsters that I have available. So I moved on to the next area and was like, oh, I've found a new monster that I can go hunt. I'm gonna hunt that a whole bunch, or I need parts from this other thing. And it's just like you can play it however you want to play it. And I think that's what makes this specific Monster Hunter game so good. You can either I've had nights where I am just basically sitting in my tent and I'm constantly looking for quests to go out on. people who have sent up flares or whatever to start quests, and I just go on those. They're really quick to do with other people. And I've had nights where I'm just like, I don't know what I want to do. I do need some resources from like mining nodes and stuff like that. I think I'm just gonna run around the area and see what happens. And that's what I do for like an hour or two. I just run around. If I find something big, I'm like, oh, I need parts from that. I'm gonna go ahead and fight it. Or I just kind of avoid everything and I just go around to all the collection nodes and collect resources and stuff that I need. So I don't know. I think it's fantastic. I have no desire whatsoever to play anything else. I'm not like burned out on it or anything. And yesterday, I really was looking forward to playing it. And then Michael all of a sudden was like, hey, let's go out to the snow because it snowed a lot. And I was like, oh, that's really fun. So we went out there. And then I was walking around in the snow and being like, I could fight a berry off out here. That'd be really cool. All the trees and stuff. And then on the way home, I was just like, I want to play more. I can't wait to go home and make that weapon. And I just need like 3 more parts to do it. And yeah, just like constantly thinking about it. So
That's funny.
it's good.
It's like,
it's so fun.
I think what's the best part of going out? It's like coming home.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, basically.
So is Monster Hunter like, is it like Pokemon where every game is like a new region, or is it always like the same continent, but maybe like a different section of the continent, kind of like the Elder Scrolls games?
Um, from what I understand, it's all the same world, just like different areas. And the whole concept is like, well, the concept with this game in particular is like this there's whole place called the Forbidden Lands, and it's supposedly uninhabited, and it's there's no species, there's no monsters, there's no people, there's like nothing. And all of a sudden there's like an expedition to go out there and kind of like just explore it a little bit, maybe like learn some things about it, see why it's called the Forbidden Lands, and then they find this person that basically like walked across it, and they're like, "Oh, it's not uninhabited. Okay, the guild authorizes you to go and find out what the fuck's going on over there." And it turns out that it's actually not uninhabited. You just haven't gone out there, and there's like villages and people and different cultures and all this other stuff. So it's more or less similar in all the other games. It's kind of like, hey, you're a new hunter, we're going to send you out to this region. And then it basically kind of branches out from there, where it's like, oh, this is a new place, we didn't know about this place, and stuff like that. But from my understanding, it's all the same world, just different areas of it.
Okay. Yeah, I was always wondering because I was like, okay, because sometimes I feel like they like a monster will return from a previous one.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, oh, is it like in the same, is that just fan service, or is it like in kind of the one giant continent and you're just like in a different region of it? Or is it like, FF expansions, like, oh, it's a new part of the world we discovered. It's over there.
Mm-hmm. The interesting about this one is there's a lot of moments where like your hunter is talking to your handler, and the interesting thing is the guild has names for all the monsters because they're obviously monsters that they've encountered before, and they've hunted them and they've seen them in other places. But the cultures and the villages that are in the Forbidden Lands, they don't know what you're talking about. They're just like, oh, that big thing that keeps attacking our thing. That's what you call it? You call it a Rompopolo? Okay, whatever that is. Can you get it to stop killing our miners? Like, they're just like, they know what the monsters are, but they have different names or no names for them. They're just like, yeah, that monster that lives in like the crystal place that kind of eats our livestock every year. Do you have a name for that? I don't know. Go deal with it, please. So there are a lot of times where your hunter will be talking to the handler and being like, from what the villagers have told us and what we know of like its predatory habits and stuff like that, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it's a what the fuck is it called? Gypseros? And then like, that's probably what it is. Let's go find out. And then you go find it. You're like, oh, that's exactly what it was. And then you tell the villagers about it. They're like, okay, did you kill it? Like, are we okay to live with it out there? So it's a really interesting thing of like, you're in this place that you thought was completely uninhabited, and your handler is like always kind of shocked to learn that there are monsters or like variations of monsters that you know about there. So
Yeah.
it's the theory is like they're not necessarily contained to one specific area of the world. They tend to live in similar environments or similar biomes and stuff like that. So it's like a monster that you would normally encounter in a desert somewhere else. Well, it's probably in the desert area of the Forbidden Lands. or like the fire area, the ice area, or whatever. So
Yeah.
kind of
Interesting.
interesting.
Yep. Sounds like it's a good time.
It's very fun. So fun.
That's good. Yeah, that video you sent, it was super compressed though, but like a lot going on
Hmm.
in that bit. I was like, oh
That's my
no.
my crowning achievement as an insect glaive player is like launching up into the air when a Rathalos is trying to escape and being like, absolutely not, and bringing it
Mhm.
back down. That's so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't played. Isn't it only got to play like an hour and a half of Split Fiction the other day? I think we're pretty close to the end. I was hoping we were gonna be able to play it like Friday night, but unfortunately he was busy, so we couldn't do it. But I think we gotta be getting pretty close, based on like the way the story's been progressing, and
Hmm.
we also like got the trophy for completing all the side stories in our last playthrough. It was so funny. I had this bit where it was like I was playing it, and it was like this section where you have like dragons, and in the early bit, like they're just eggs, and they hatch, and then they get bigger and bigger over the course of like the level. And at the end, like we beat the level in the course of the dragon's Leo was like, "Oh, he's such a good boy. Look at the dragon," and he goes off, and then this subscriber in chat was like, "Oh, do you like dragons?" And I was like, "I mean, I don't necessarily have like a affinity for it. I'm not like I don't like not like dragons. I mean, I guess I have a dragon tattoo." And then he hit me with the dragon D's nuts, and I was like, "Ah, damn it!" I was like, I should have seen it coming." And then that immediately, like the game gets into an emotional bit with one of the characters. Like, it was just a funny like high low situation of like getting caught off guard, and then like, "Oh, my sister died," and yada yada. I'm like, "Okay." It's like,
Like,
"Yep."
ooh, whiplash.
Yeah. But no, it's a really fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm hoping we can finish it at some point. I just gotta wait on that guy. Uh, and then aside from that, I've been playing they had a the developers behind Grey Zone Warfare had a dev talk, how they're kind of what they plan, later for some of their roadmap stuff, and how they're bumping up some PvP content instead, because a lot of people like the PvP and moving some other stuff to later, but they're also introducing, like, weather effects, which could be pretty cool. I'm curious how it's gonna affect performance, but they did say they're working on performance upgrades and stuff, so there's a lot of stuff coming to that, which sounds interesting. A lot of split between the player base because some people prefer just to play the PvE mode and not PvP. But
Hmm.
I kind of like the idea of the way they said there's gonna be like these forward operating bases, like these little outpost kind of spots where you can kind of like fight over for control. Reminds me a lot of like FF11 and controlling a region by whoever kills the most monsters and uh, or Ballista, I guess is that the other one that was in later. But
Hmm.
I like that idea because I'm like, oh, good. Then maybe that means like people who actually want to do like straight PvP, they'll go to one of these little zones and do it there. And they also introduced the thing where like now if a player in your faction gets killed by someone else, the grid that they died in will get highlighted with like this conflict circle. So like, hey, this is where they died. And then they're also introducing like essentially air tags. So you can put one on your body and you can see where you died. Because one of the hardest parts is like if you die in a fight, if you didn't check the map recently, you're not going to exactly remember where you were. And like you can kind of try to ant memory it, where it's like, okay, I'll try to line up the last image I remember of these trees and then look for my body. But like if your body falls into a bush, like fuck, good luck, especially if it's like nighttime. And then of course, if you died, it's like unless you get killed by like an NPC, you're always in high alert for where the hell's the other player. So they introduced these little tags and like, but I don't know. Like I didn't watch the live stream, but I don't know if they're items that you physically just put because in my head I was like, oh, it's a tag. Like I just put it on in like the pocket of my vest and then my plate carrier. And then I die, it's just in there. But I'm like, then if it's a physical item, then the other players who loot me can see it, unless it's not, and it's not like a lootable item, and it's like you just quote unquote attach it to your gear. Because then they're saying like, oh, you could also use it to like bait players, like maybe drop some stuff and then put a tag on it and see when it gets picked up and like moves on the map or something. You're like,
Hmm.
oh, someone took the bait. Yeah, I'm gonna go get them. So I thought that was really cool just for getting back to my body because sometimes like you die off the beaten path and it's like fuck I gotta find my body. It also could be good too if like because there's a time limit on how long your body is there before it despawns. I think it's like an hour because like I was playing the other day doing a task and I was in a town and I was trying to farm a key that I needed. So I'm just killing like NPCs and it's like a pretty one of the main three major points of interest. But I wasn't going to like to the main building or just on the outskirts. And I heard a guy like walking the other side of the wall. I'm like, okay, that's a player. And I'm in this building. I'm like, okay, I'm in this building. And then when I left, I like jumped over this wall behind and a few minutes had gone by. And I'm like, okay, maybe they moved on. And then I also didn't hear any other shots because I had killed all the NPCs that were around. So it didn't matter. But then I went to go run across the street, and once I got into the open, like they lit me up, and they got me right before I crested the hill. So then I was like, okay, I gotta go back, but I can't go back the same way. I have to go a different way. But I like slowly made my way around, but I think I took too long because I couldn't find my body. I was like, I guess I took. So I'm wondering like if I had the tag, if I could like see it on the map, and then obviously once the body despawns, then it's like the tag disappears too. And I'm like, okay, I ran out of time. Like set like an hour on my watch or something. Be like, okay, once this goes off, that means I'm out. But I like this idea of the tag. Seems like a good one. So, but yeah, that's a fun game. I'm looking forward to more content there. And then I just playing Balatro, that as well. I need to get back to Darklight and finish that off because I think I'm pretty close to the end of that game. And I was like, I kept looking at like their Steam sales. I'm like, oh, I could pick this thing up and play this. And then of course the Death Stranding 2 trailer made me kind of want to go back and, like I was saying, replay Death Stranding. So I was thinking about downloading that, but I didn't. Oh, I got a friend request from one of the guys I played with.
Ooh, a friend.
Let me accept. I don't know if they're a streamer too, because when I played, it was with a bunch of other streamers, like little streamers who were playing last night. That's what I was playing was R.E.P.O. I played R.E.P.O. a lot last night. I played it for like 3 hours. We played till midnight my time. It was like most of them were central time zones, so they're like it was way too late for them. But there was like how many of them? There was I think there were 6 of us. It was me, Clever, Knights Mary, Take It Ease, we just call him Ease, Jacqueline Comics, and Lame Laney. And it was all of us were all playing in the game. We got super far. Like we did not like when we first were playing, like it was just like I think I joined 3 of them. Or no, it was 4 then because by the time I got on, because they've been playing for a while anyways. I think we only had like 1 failure. We had like a big old box and we put it in it, but it was like part of it was sticking out of the thing. So when the crusher came down, it like destroyed the box. And I'm like, no, we lost all the money. So we failed. But then once we had like everybody, the full 6, like we just went on a streak where we just got like, we didn't lose. Like people died, but we didn't lose. And then we just had we kept going. It's just like, we kept keep this train rolling, keep it rolling. And it was just like too many. It's just like too late. Like people are like, I gotta go to bed. But yeah, that game's just a lot of fun. I said it earlier, but I was recording it, and then at one point I looked at OBS, and OBS was like, you got 2.2 gigs left, and I was like, oh shit. I'm like, I tried to like, okay, stop recording. I looked, it's like a 48 gig file. Because I have to finish editing all my split fiction videos with Isley to put up on YouTube. I almost have all my Outer Wilds videos up. So I've been slowly deleting those. Where I'm like, I got to get my Darklight videos up. I got to get my split fiction videos up. Or I just got to move them. I got to change the recording drive to my 3rd drive or something. But I was like, okay, maybe I can just transfer the file from one drive to another and then clear up that space. But then like that transfer could take forever. So I'm like, screw it. I'll just, if I want to edit any of this down for YouTube, I'll just download the VOD. It won't be perfect bitrate, but it'll be good enough because I watched it earlier and it was fine. And I have a bunch of shorts that I record as well. But that game's just so funny. Unfortunately, I didn't get hit with any of the deep voice items, which is a bit of a shame. I really wanted to.
You didn't find the hourglass?
Now, other people did. I didn't. Or like I was dead. Like we had one run where it was like it was like a later level, maybe it was like a 4-step. I forget how many extraction points we had, but it was I died a bunch. Like there was like this crazy frog with knives and like a Hitler stash, and I was like, oh, I gotta get past this guy, and I got past him, and then immediately I get outside, and there's like this little like courtyard area, and there was the blind man with the shotgun, the Elmer Fudd, and I'm like, oh shit! No. I luckily was able to dodge his shot, but then I looked up, and there was this floating giant skull, and I was like, oh no! And then I turned to the right to this doorway, which just led to a little closet. I don't know why they had a double door into a closet, and like Lainey was crouched down and hiding there, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. And then the skull came in and just like, and like killed us both. I was trying to get away. I had to get past that damn frog. But it was just like, man, it was. And then I had one bit where it was like, it was so funny. I died, and then I was watching Lainey, and Lainey was just in a little cabinet, and Lainey starts closing the cabinet doors, and it looks so funny. And so then later, when I got back alive at the next step, Elmer Fudd's walking around, and I'm just like, oh, I gotta hide. So I hid in the thing, and I closed one of the cabinet doors, and I closed the second, but I guess the second made too much noise, and then I just heard him like, and then he just blasts the door open, and Knight's Mary was like across from me, and she's just looking right at me, and like I'm like, she's like hacks, and then I'm like in the TTS, and then I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how did he know I was there? Uh, then it was just like that game's just so fun, and then just yeah, good time. It was a bunch of fun group to play with, and a small game too. Like it's not that big. It was like 880 megabits or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was just it was a good time. Had a lot of fun. I was like, damn, it is hella late. It was like it was staying on so long. I guess it's a Saturday though. Got to worry about anything.
I've been watching so many people play that. It's so funny. Like I don't think it would be as good if it didn't have like the little robot characters. I think the robot characters make it 10 times more hilarious.
You know, did they like patch out? Like, I feel like when I watched Northern Lion play it, like whenever they give each other health, like the royal would go like, la, 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 like stick out their tongue and like lick the back of their neck. But when we were doing it, like sharing health, like I felt like it was just like that didn't happen. There was no like tongue. It was just like, hey, like a back rub almost. It looked like it, or like a green beam. Like I didn't see any weird tongue thing. I don't know what happened there, but
No,
it's
I don't
like,
know.
yeah, it was weird. I was
Most of
like,
the people I watch kind of picked it up a little, well, not like super late, but a little bit late into the cycle. So it was just like it's always been the little beam, basically carrying
no,
PP.
it was so funny. We had one bit where it was like it was Lainey and I we were carrying. No, it was me. I think it was me and Jackie because Jackie had the health buff. Um, and we're carrying this giant box. I guess which has like a monster in it or something, but it's worth like $20,000. And we're carrying it, and then the box got caught on like there was a room where like there was a bit of dirt, like a dirt mound, and it got caught in like the geometry corner of the dirt mound, and it just started freaking out. And it's like minus 200, minus 200. It was just losing like money essentially over and over because it was just glitching out. It's like, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. We just booked it. Like, we're sorry. Luckily, we still made it. Like, I feel like whenever I watch NL and they like lose a large chunk like that, like they can't make it out
Mhm.
to like the second one. But I feel like we were fine. Like we made it. But yeah, it was it's just a fun time. It's just so many people talking to it. It's like if you got to talk, you got to make sure you time it right if you want to say anything that actually gets heard. That's not just laughter or panic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun one. Like I said, I gotta go back. I might trim some of the video, post it, but I got a lot of shorts I gotta put up of just I was so funny. I had the camera, I was watching Mary, and she's like, "Oh, I found a diamond." And then like the diamond smacked like every shelf on the way down and broke. She's like, "Never mind, I didn't find a diamond. I was kidding. I was kidding." Like
I didn't find anything.
yeah, there was nothing there, nothing there. I watched them like I was dead, and I was watching them all three try to pick up this vase and put it in the cart, and like the vase like touched the edge of the cart and just shattered, and like it's like
Mhm.
minus 6,000, and it was just so funny. And I was like, oh man, there's like the grafted one. I was like, what the hell? What in the Elden Ring is this crap, man? It's like grafted monster just running around. I'm like, oh, I gotta get past this thing. It's gonna kill me.
And it
But
doesn't do anything except flail its disgusting little legs around and like destroy things. It doesn't actually come after anybody, it just wanders around.
yeah, and the love potion just making you talk say a bunch of things. But yeah, it's a fun time. Uh, good game. Good game. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, not too much else. No, I want to get back to well, with two big things coming out soon. It's like I don't know if I'll start anything big anytime soon. Probably just again chip away at Balatro. I hop back into No Man's Sky for a bit. I was like, oh, let's just kind of fly around space. And I was like, where the hell am I? Like, what was I doing? I was on some planet for a mission. So I'm like, I guess I'll continue this mission, but it's like, I don't know what's going on. But yeah. All right. Well, I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up there. Hopefully, well, we'll see if obviously we'll have reviews for AC come out before the next show, and then I'll hopefully be able to get a couple hours in uh, prior to the podcast, so at least I could speak to it. And I think,
Mhm.
ooh, actually, I think I should have a ton of time to play because I like the little guys are going to go with the grandparents out to the snow. So I should be able to play a lot actually. I think that if they depends on when they leave, they go Saturday morning or Friday night. So yeah, I don't get a lot of time in there. I don't know if I'll stream it because I was thinking it's like, oh, I might stream like a little bit of it, but I was like, I feel like this is a game I could just play off stream. And then because I'm gonna stream the hell out of Adamfall. So I definitely want to play that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to play some more Assassin's Creed. It's funny. I keep seeing like people on Blue Sky being like, why did AC Unity look so good? I'm like, yeah, because they thought the console generation at that time was going to be way better than it was, and it wasn't. So they designed their engine to be like, hey, let's make it real good. Then it turns out, oh no, the consoles aren't that great. So they had to tone it down for the next series of games.
Mhm.
It's so funny. Uh,
"Oh, why does it look so good?" "Oh, yeah, it looked great. Did you play it?"
yeah,
'Cause,
yeah, had some issues because it was just too strong. Can it
Mhm.
run Assassin's Creed Unity is the question. When does let's see, when does Indiana Jones PS5 come out? We got a release date for that, right? Sometime in spring, they said. They didn't actually say when. Uh,
Oh, yeah, I saw that it was coming to, like, the timed exclusive or whatever was over, but I don't know if
yeah,
there's an actual date.
I think at the Game Awards they said like spring because it was like,
Mhm.
oh, here's the release date trailer, and then it was like, and then spring for PS5. So I'm waiting on that because I do want to play that. I've tried not to watch anybody play it, and then I've been avoiding Clever playing Avowed because I'm like, okay, well, Avowed will at some point come to PlayStation, no doubt, and I'll probably check that out there.
Mhm.
But yeah, all right, well, that'll do it for this episode. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Zach,
Mhm.
and we'll see you all next time.